robots took my podcast, man.
A young attorney has the chance of a lifetime.
Milton Chadwick Waters. We want you to come to New York. All expenses, first class, travel and lodging, you and your wife.
Oh my God.
He will enter a place of wealth and ambition.
We've got 40 partners vested at the moment. In addition to our corporate clients, we're currently representing about 25 foreign countries. He's got you scheduled for 15 minutes, so make the most of it.
John Milton.
Kevin Lomax.
Well, what's that like? One day you're putting them away, next day you're setting them free.
Takes a little getting used to.
Pays better though, doesn't it?
Welcome to Babylon, Ma.
Speak of the devil.
A world of power and seduction controlled by one man. He will make your dreams come true. He will grant your fondest wish.
I'm just warming my hands on your talent.
He knows your greatest fear.
Milton is into everything. Arms brokering, chemical weapons, toxic waste, money laundering for the Eastern Bloc. I mean, it goes on and on.
I don't like it here, Kevin.
And he knows the price of your soul.
Who are you? Oh, I have so many names. I'm here on the ground with my nose in it since the whole thing began. God likes to watch. He's an absentee landlord.
Keanu Reeves.
He's always been there. I know that now.
Al Pacino.
As God sleeps late.
We will win. The Devil's Advocate.
Welcome to our podcast. The Robots Took My Podcast. I am Jordan.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are talking about the movie Devil's Advocate from 1997. How many times have you seen this movie, Anthony?
At least once or twice, but it's been a long time.
I guess I was kind of the one recommending this movie more because I've watched this movie, I think 20 some. I think I've lost count of how many times I've watched this movie. I'm oddly fixated with this movie.
This movie is from 1997, and it is directed by Taylor Hackford, who is the director of Officer and a Gentleman, Ray, big titles.
That's a lot of power behind this movie, in my opinion, as a director. That's Taylor Hackford power going on there. And we see that really demonstrated in this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, and big names, Al Pacino.
Yes.
An up and coming Keanu Reeves at the time.
Keanu Reeves, this is after Speed, about a couple of years after Speed. This is about 2 years before The Matrix. And this is really him flexing his acting chops more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Than he's ever done before.
I mean, he was pretty good in Bill and Ted.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is a stretch for him. Young Charlize Theron is also in this as well. Yeah. Just big name cast all around.
And a lot of appearances by actors you remember from other things too, just randomly showing up at some point.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh my God, it's that guy.
And so this movie comes on the heels of a lot of John Grisham movies.
Yes.
John Grisham, a writer who wrote a lot of books about small town Southern law.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that was a part of the sell, because this was Warner Brothers as well. And Warner Brothers produced every John Grisham movie, to my knowledge, I think. I'm pretty sure. The Firm, I'm thinking, Time to Kill, right?
Yeah.
These are all, I think he had a deal with Warner, obviously. But yeah, totally on the heels, it seems, as well. You're right.
Yeah, but a purely 90s movie, if there ever was one. If John Grisham wrote a supernatural thriller on this level, this is what it would be. But going to the setting, Jordan.
So we start off with the Warner logo dissolving into time-lapse clouds. Not to give away too much here, I hope, and then dissolving into a shot of flames, very hellacious flames, very appropriate. And then we go right into a courtroom. The movie grabs you by the throat from reel one. And in the first minute, literally, because the titles go by very quickly. They don't really linger on the titles. But yeah, and we have a little girl on the witness stand about junior high adolescent age, confessing that her teacher has fondled her. Am I going too far here? And Kevin Lomax, played by Keanu Reeves, is representing the teacher who possibly did this, named Mr. Geddes. And it gets really disturbing as the little girl's describing what happens in the classroom after. I mean, this is what I'm saying, how the movie grabs you by the throat. And then Kevin sees his client, Mr. Geddes. I describing this even as we're touching himself under the desk, and he gets grossed out. And he's supposed to be his attorney, we gather already. And Kevin calls for a recess to the judge. The judge approves the recess. Kevin comes out of the room, disgusted at Mr. Geddes. He tells the teacher to get as your attorney, get the fuck away. Keanu Reeves doing a really great Southern accent, actually a really believable Southern accent, because this is in Gainesville, Florida.
Well, hold on there, Jordan. We may diverge paths here. I personally think that Keanu does a bit of I'm going to call this bad Southern accents the movie. Personally, just I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to be harsh, but sometimes he remembers to have a Southern accent. Usually he doesn't. It's kind of like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood.
You think? Oh, really?
I know that's harsh. I'm sorry. But I mean, that's the way I wrote that down in my notes, because I was just like,
am I crazy here? I don't know.
I don't think
I feel like he's flexing.
Jordan, I've been to the South. Okay. I've heard Southern accents. I mean, I think Keanu, when in every movie, he should just begin it with like a Matrix style realization scene, like, I am totally a lawyer, or I am totally an FBI agent. And that's what this movie is like. I'm totally a lawyer with a Southern accent, Your Honor. It's one of the weaknesses in the film, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Other people may be like, Anthony, you're wrong. This is the best Southern accent ever recorded on film.
I think you're out of line here, Anthony. And by the way, Your Honor, I'd like to call for a recess here.
No, Jordan, you're out of order. This whole movie's out of order. Their accents are out of order.
Oh, wrong Al Pacino movie.
No, I was just kidding.
Fitting, yes, but absolutely appropriate here. Yes, from Justice for All, folks. Yes. Back into the plot. Kevin goes into the restroom to have a moment for himself. He splashes water on his face, looks in the mirror, and a reporter comes in who we get the idea Kevin knows, and he's saying, I got a deadline, Kevin, give me a quote. He says something integral to the reporter that hits Kevin in a way that we understand Kevin early on. And that's the interesting thing to me about this movie as well. So he says, I got a 4:30 deadline, Kevin, give me a quote. And the reporter leaves the restroom. Kevin looks in the mirror, and we totally, I don't know, I think we get the idea across that Kevin does not like to lose, regardless of his moral upstanding, his moral values, whatever that he holds in his heart. He does not like to lose as a lawyer. We get that early on, which is interesting to me.
And the reporter's kind of a dick, but he's like, oh, you've had a string of wins and this will be your first loss. And it pins this whole, let me stop and say something, Jordan. Okay. This whole movie is premised on the idea of the fact that because someone's guilty, that a lawyer should recuse himself or herself. But the whole underpinnings, the foundation of our legal system is the fact that even guilty people need to have representation and have those charges against you proven by, a jury, right?
Yeah.
And even if you don't have a lawyer, one's appointed by the state.
Yeah.
So this movie's all about, well, if a lawyer knows that their client did something, then they just can't represent them and it's immoral for them to do so. I don't mean to split hairs.
But lawyers are necessary evils, sort of.
Or just evil part of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like, all lawyers are bad is where this comes from. That was sort of a tricky issue for me.
You felt like it was a little bit too of a moral underpinning on the movie? Is that what you feel like?
Yeah, I think this movie's morality is basically, if you're guilty, then an attorney should recuse himself from representing you.
Oh, really? I don't.
And that's not how, I mean, it's all about this morality. All lawyers are bad. And there are bad lawyers out there. There's bad garbage men. There's bad doctors. There's bad call center reps. I mean, they're just bad human beings,
I slightly disagree with you. I'll see your card for this card. I think that the movie's message is the devil is behind the law.
Well, let's get to the message of this movie a little later, toward the end when it all comes out. But I just wanted to say that one little piece.
I disagree slightly with that. I don't think it's really in your face about that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, unless I saw a different movie in it. But But so Kevin, we get the idea already. He looks himself in the mirror. There's this odd devilish grin that pops up on him, and we just oddly get the idea that he doesn't want to lose this case, even though that morally it bugs the shit out of him. But what the reporter said, it's almost like that ticked him off to where he's like, I can't lose this case. So he goes back in the courtroom and he turns the case around and he makes the victim look guilty. And it's kind of ugly.
Yeah.
And he's telling the little girl, he presents a piece of evidence at the last minute, which is really sketchy with a lawyer, right?
Well, trial procedure issues all over the place here, but what a judge wouldn't allow is for a defense attorney to sit there and absolutely shout down a child on the stage.
I wondered about
just
that.
Really badger her. And a lot of movies do this, but that would never happen. It's ridiculous.
I did last night, actually, for the first time watching this, I did wonder about that, like how that would actually fly in a real courtroom nowadays, especially even back in 1997. How would that fly realistically?
Yeah, you can't interfere with someone's testimony.
And it's ugly,
anyway.
Folks. I'm just saying it's ugly the way and don't hold it against Keanu. Keanu is an actor. Keanu wouldn't do this in real life, I'm certain. But he's telling this little girl, did you not say these things about him to yourself? And he pushes her in the corner to where he makes her look guilty. And of course, it's ugly. And it's almost establishing Lomax as the villain. So we're following. This is not a movie about good guys and bad guys, so to speak. We're kind of following the villain through this movie. So his wife, Charlize Theron, is right there at the end of the case. He wins the case. The guy gets off. And then Charlize Theron is right there saying, come on, baby, you need a drink. In her Southern accent.
Yeah, which is even worse than Keanu's. All right. Keanu's, and I will say in terms of Keanu Reeves' accents, his Southern accent, I will give you, is better than his English accent. I will give you that.
Oh, in Dracula.
Yeah, but not much.
Won't be a moment too soon. I feel like he was in Dracula. He was doing a Michael York impression, honestly.
but anyways.
Okay, so this is where the first Faustian moment comes up. They're out having drinks. We get the idea Kevin and his wife have a healthy relationship, probably a good sex life as a marriage. And out of nowhere, already into the night, we have a band playing, and then Kevin is offered a job by this guy in a suit out of nowhere from New York. Gives him a business card called Milton Chadwick Waters. Milton, big symbolism there, right back to Milton Paradise Lost. Lomax thinks he's joking. And then we get the idea later on that Kevin decides to take the job after the guy offers them an even fatter check. And he offers them a big fat per diem to go with it for him and his wife to live off of. Then we go to a church and we meet Kevin's mother, played by Judith Ivey, who has the best Southern accent, I guess, if you really wanted to nail it down.
If we're ranking Southern accents here, hers.
She's no stranger to it, clearly. And Judith Ivey is not Southern at all, from what I understand. I don't think, at least.
And she's really good, and
she's religious. We find out his mother's very religious. She sends him away to New York with prayers and love, and alone among the wolves, I send my sheep, something like that. You get the idea that Kevin was raised by this she's a single mom. Mm-hmm. Which gives weight to his character in a way and makes him more interesting for us to follow him. Because like I said, he's kind of like he's the villain. I realized watching this again as well. So Kevin meets up with his wife. They leave town. We dissolve to New York with time-lapse photography of New York.
They really like that time-lapse photography in this movie, I'll tell you.
It looks really cool, Anthony.
I know, it looks good. There's some good... I'm not being critical.
So we're in a courtroom and Kevin is picking the jury. We see how good he is about picking a jury and how he's got instincts. And we slowly, and what is it? His wife is...
So he goes to the firm.
Yeah. This is where we get to meet Milton, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
And before that, we meet Connie Nielsen.
Yes. Isabella.
Yeah. Christabella, I think.
This is Connie Nielsen, pre-Gladiator, pre-Wonder Woman. Yeah. Connie Nielsen, great actress.
Yeah. We see a lot of her in this film.
Yes.
And so then we meet the man himself, Al Pacino, needs no introduction.
John Milton.
John Milton, which I thought was personally a little too on the nose for me. John Milton being the author of Paradise Lost. And
Paradise Lost reference clearly.
And then they quoted a couple times, very obviously, in this film. I just thought it was a bit much, but whatever.
He goes to his office, which is in the top of this building. And it's, from what I know, this is a real location, Anthony, that they shot in. And that's really Al Pacino and really Keanu Reeves on top of this building filming. And they're trying to contain, I think, how high up they are when they're saying their dialogue, but they're so cool about it in the scene.
Yeah, and then we meet Al Pacino's character, John Milton, who's a larger-than-life attorney.
Very larger, yeah.
And kind of weird. There's a lot of weirdness going on. Kevin is really attracted I am totally a lawyer. Kevin's really attracted
How dare you,
strangely.
sir? That's Keanu. Sir Keanu Reeves to you, sir.
And then he's weirdly attracted to Connie Nielsen's character, Christabella.
She's beautiful. I mean,
yeah. No. Yeah. Who wouldn't be?
I'm sorry. I know that's inappropriate for me to say that.
It's not inappropriate. It's a compliment. And he gives his whole life story to John Milton, who's very, very interested in him and that pedophile case. He's like, well, you knew that pedophile was guilty. And the whole thing is like,
how do you live with yourself? But he says, I begin the case with a clear conscience.
I mean, the premise of, yes, if you're beginning to understand that Kevin understands his clients are guilty and he's still representing them, it's becoming a problem here. And then we see this beautiful shot scene with infinity pools and such on top of a building. And it's amazing.
A real building in New York. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so he basically probes Kevin about his life. And then we meet.
I was going to say, this is where the second part of the Faustian bargain comes in, when he's really offering him the job full on. Because apparently Kevin was auditioning at this point, I guess.
Yeah, and his wife mentions later on in the movie that this is all a test. He's being tested. It's quite obvious.
She said it feels like a test, yeah.
And then, speaking of pedophiles, we have Jeffrey Jones plays Eddie Barzoon, who is one of the partners here, and everybody.
Jeffrey Jones, the dad from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, everybody Google
Overlord from Howard the Duck. Yes,
the list goes on. Not recently though. Just Google him. Just knowing that, it's kind of weird, Jordan, adds to the creepiness factor now. Like retroactively,
yeah,
he's on
it is kind of because he works for the devil as well.
Enough said. Anyway,
and he plays Sonny Barzoon, who's at the top in this law firm. He's like one of the main. I guess he's one of the main shareholders in the company. Obviously,
yeah, one of the partners or
in
something.
The firm. It's a big firm. We find out too. It represents every part of the world. They do international law. They do trade law, every kind of law imaginable that's on a big level. They work in, basically. That's where the devil's got his finger in,
so to speak.
And so should we? So Kevin is given
they defend this voodoo practitioner, Mr. Moyes.
Philippe Moyes, played by Delroy Lindo, I believe.
Great job. I was getting Mama Matre's.
Amazing,
I was getting Sugar Hill vibes. It was good.
Oh my God, can you imagine? The Sugar Hill remake. Delroy Lindo as the Baron. Oh my God.
Nice. Like the way you're thinking.
So we see his wife is already having pressures of being just a housewife and not having a job herself and having to choose patterns for the wall and painting for the wall.
Yeah, living in opulence now. They have all this money and living in a New York high rise.
Anyway, so where were we? We were.
Well, I have in my notes that Milton takes the subway. I just don't see that as a major partner in a law firm taking the subway. I think that's got to be some sort of joke.
Because he said to Kevin, they don't see me coming. You got to be the little guy. The little guy, the Lepo. They don't see me coming. I'm the hand up Mona Lisa skirt, Kevin. Sorry. I couldn't help but go now.
Go for it.
So it's so easy to do Pacino.
There's going to be so many bad Pacino or good Pacino impressions in this thing. Just let it fly.
I love Pacino. Honestly, I will confess my love for Pacino. And I love him in everything. I love how big and gigantic he is, larger than life he is.
Beautiful.
He's as small as I am as a guy in real life. So I love that, So he gets the job at the firm. They go to this party. Yeah. Should we cut to the party where there's all this stuff going on?
And then
this is in Milton's loft. Milton lives in the penthouse of this building, and we get the idea that Kevin has moved in underneath him with other lawyers. It's an exclusive building for all the lawyers at this firm to live in, apparently. But it also makes it more very cultish, like, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's weird if all the partners live in this giant building that reminds me a little bit of the building from Ghostbusters, and then just kind of like that weird
it's
Art
like
Deco.
It overlooks Central Park, I guess, too. I don't know if this building really exists as one entity or if it was partly to the movie. That's what I don't remember. But you overhear everybody talking at the party, and you see weird cameos from like representatives and even producer Arnon Milchan, who produced the movie and it produced LA Confidential, big time Israeli producer Arnon Milchan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you see him talking to the secretary in that one scene. And then you listen clearly, you hear them saying, oh yeah, he represents Trump in one part, something like that. And you hear a lot, you hear them saying, oh yeah, he's definitely Republican. And another scene, of this party, when you overhear people talking and they're cutting back and forth. So you get the idea that this firm is connected with everybody that's at the top in New York, everybody that's the talk of the town as well. All sorts of people at the top and Republicans as well.
Yeah. And then we find out that Alex Cullen, played by the great Craig T. Nelson, Poltergeist.
Yes, very well played by Craig T. Nelson. Yes, and the voice of the dad on The Incredibles. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. And also reunited with Al Pacino from another courtroom drama, and Justice for All.
Oh my OMG! I did not realize. Oh, you're right. Wow, I got to go back and look at Justice for All again.
Yeah. That just struck me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So he gets a phone call early on, and that's kind of eerie that he has killed his family. And it's almost like he knows ahead of time, oddly. So we already get the idea that Pacino is larger than life, So he gets the phone call that he's murdered his wife, his son, his little boy, and
allegedly, Jordan, allegedly.
Allegedly, sorry.
Until you're proven guilty in a court of law.
John Milton wants Kevin Lomax, Keanu Reeves, to be the one to represent him in the case. And of course, Sonny Barzoom, played by Jeffrey Jones, is there, and he does not like this. He disagrees. He already feels like he's a threat to him, and he disagrees. And even Kevin Lomax is a little trepidatious about it. He feels a little weird about it, maybe.
And I don't blame him.
You don't blame him. Yeah, it's like another step up in the, good God. I mean, he's already had represented every type of immorality at this point.
Yeah, he's worked for the firm for years. And Kevin shows up in a week, is suddenly like about to be partner.
Yeah. And then Kevin has to meet Alex Cullen, and they meet in one of his buildings.
Well, hold on a second. I want to sidetrack here. There's the scene where Mary Ann, Charlize Theron's character.
Oh, Mare, yeah.
Mare, as she's called, goes out with the other wives, and one of the wives
I forgot about that.
I guess sort of their friends, if you could even call it here, is Ruben Santiago, Hudson's character, Lehman Heath, and his wife. And so anyway, they don't have many friends, so they're all just at the firm. And so she's adjusting to being a full-time stay-at-home wife, and so she goes out with the other wives.
A lawyer's housewife, I guess.
Yeah.
Lives in that part of New York, of course, the uptown part, where all they do is shop and drink. That's what they do.
And the other wives are just like, enjoy it. And
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I'd love to be a kept, husband, Jordan. I wouldn't mind it. Anyway,
somebody paying for me to just drink and shop? Shit, man, I can do that. Anyway.
Me hanging out with the girls? Why not, Jordan?
I can hang with the girls.
So anyway, they're all dressing in this dressing room, all stripping in front of one another and talking.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the wives is talking about her boobs and like, see, they're new and touch it. And so they're kind of hitting on her.
It sounds like Sex in the City with an edge to it, like an X rating to it almost. And then getting to the most shocking part that sets things off.
And so what happens? What does she see?
She sees, after she sees, what's her name, reveal her boobs. Sorry, I was just thinking back. We see that her leer at her, and it's a CG kind of devilish leer that's very creepy. Her mouth widens into this Beetlejuice kind of weird big teeth, and of course Charlize Theron's Mare wonders if it's the wine, she runs out screaming.
Yeah,
she abandons them basically right there.
Yeah,
and goes home.
Tamara Tooney plays the wife, and
the lovely Tamara Tooney,
whose boobs we see.
She was in Shaft also, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's in a bunch of stuff. I mean, these are great big name actors. I mean,
great actors. Yeah,
great cast here.
Great cast. A lot of power with the cast. You can't deny it. I mean, there's a lot of great actors in small parts here even. Anyway, so we're Anthony. I'll let you help us skip ahead here.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that sort of happens in the middle of this movie, and it all boils down to the fact that Kevin is beginning to realize that Craig T. Nelson's character Cullen is guilty.
Yeah,
he's got this assistant he was supposedly with that night. He's apparently having an affair with.
Yeah.
And so he's beginning to realize that, maybe she's not telling the truth. And then maybe Cullen's not telling the truth.
Oh, and here we go. I got to interrupt you here. This is where it's in Trump Tower. actually, is when we're in Cullen's office, which is very,
Oh.
very made of gold, and it has that mural on the ceiling, the sort of Norse gods, I guess, or whatever. That's Trump Tower penthouse level right there,
Oh, okay.
actually.
Basically, Craig T. Nelson's character, or Cullen, is a big real estate developer, builder. So
Very successful, very successful.
interesting that they would have that there. I wonder if that was intentional.
I thought, yeah, I still think back on that and wonder, like, who are they kind of nudging there?
Because he's not very Trumpy. He's like Craig T. Nelson. You get Craig T. Nelson in a movie,
Yeah,
you get Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah, he's somehow really good, but then he's not really good.
Yeah, and he pulls a gun at one point, and we're kind of mixing up the plot here a little bit, but he pulls a gun at one point.
We're kind of jumping. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
well,
and it's like a he's got like a Walter PK or a Beretta.
I noticed that. I was like, is that a Walter PK? I don't know guns a lot, but I was like, hey, wait a minute.
I'm pretty sure it's either one of those, a Beretta or a Walter PK. I'm not the biggest gun expert either, but we're from Texas, so yeah.
You're born with a gun in your hand, Jordan.
I know a guy with
Ouch.
a Walter PK, honestly.
But anyway, and then Kevin's mother comes back to visit, right? And visit them in New York. And what
played by
happens?
Judith Ivey once again, and they are coming back from dinner. Most importantly, I guess is where we really get a sense of what's going on with Kevin and his wife, and where it's all coming to a head. But yeah, his mother's there visiting, and they're going up to the elevator, and they run into Milton with Isabella and this other beautiful Asian woman. But yeah, and he invites him up. He says, "Why don't you come up?" And of course, it kind of looks weird to Mare when she's watching all this. And then it looks weird to Judith Ivey's character, his mother, as well. And there's a look between her and Pacino where you get a sense that there's something there somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, she gets a little weirded out. And then even like Milton looks her in the eye and kind of, they have a moment.
He says, "Is this your first time in New York?" And she looks at him and says, "No." And that kind of is a little weird indicator, like something's going on there. Anyway, we get to Kevin's apartment, and Mare goes off on him. Is that what you're doing when you're off late at hours? Is that what you're doing? Just like what she saw with Milton. So she assumes all lawyers are being like, and she's already seen enough. She's already seen so many horrific things. She's had a nightmare we didn't even talk about.
Well, yeah, that comes later, but
yeah.
She's also seen where Kevin was looking at Christabel.
Yeah,
or
Christabella there. Or Isabella or Christabel. Is it Isabella or Christabel? I couldn't remember.
It's like Well,
you might be right.
No, it's Christabel. I mean, I think one of the influences for this movie was a Samuel Taylor Coleridge poem that was similar to Milton, or a sequel to Milton.
Oh yeah. And
her name comes from that character, I think. Anyway,
he was a big hashish addict too, as well, from what I know. Anyway.
Oh hell yeah. So Kevin goes back to the firm, sees Jeffrey Jones shredding docks, and finds out there's a federal investigation.
Late night shredding, yes.
As we do, just shredding docks late at night, sweating.
A lot of docks, yeah, because it's 1997.
Paper.
They're not deleting files in the computer; they're shredding paper.
And then they're on the subway. I know we have Milton on the subway once again, right?
That's a great scene. Yes,
it's great. And this is Pacino, just shining throughout this entire film, and he's just staring at this dude. When Pacino stares at you, he stares at you. And this,
right? It's scary. Like it could cut your eye. It could kill you.
Oh yeah,
you too long, Pacino. I'm serious.
Yeah, do not stare directly at the sun, and do not stare directly in Al Pacino's eyes.
No, not a good idea, kids. No. So you might go blind. Maybe that's what I hear.
Yeah. So he's talking to this guy on the subway, or this Hispanic guy is like, what are you looking at?
What are you looking at, essay? You got a problem? That kind of shit. Like Pacino's getting mad dog by this dude.
Unconcerned. What does he do, Jordan?
But he's not scared. He looks at him. He starts speaking to him in Spanish and telling him that, he needs to go home right now because his buddy is smoking a big fat crack rock and about to have anal sex with his woman. So he better get home right now. And he looks at him and goes, "How do you know that, man? You ain't right, man." And he quickly gets off. The dude was about to cut him up with an X-Acto knife. And then Pacino power going on here.
I will say that utility knife makes a switchblade noise, like.
I thought that was weird too. I use those a lot with my creative projects, so they don't. They don't do that. No.
Somebody Foleyed that anyway.
I wish they did that, but they don't. It'd be
sound
cooler
like
if they did that. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
But the guy's like, you better get off to stop
Yeah.
this from happening. So it's a weird little scene.
That was beyond reasoning his way out of a fight. That was beyond that. That was like Jedi mind shit going on there that he does on that guy, because he knows what's going on with him. Of course, he knows all these elements of his life. So it's like, yeah, I mean,
He seems to know a lot about a lot of things, this John Milton.
it's John Milton, yes.
Something's up here with this
Something's
John
up
Milton
here.
fella. So Mare's at home, right? And what
Yeah.
happens? She's home alone.
Oh yeah, she wakes up from probably another bad dream, and then she thinks somebody's in the house, and she finds a little baby holding her slowly. It's all happening slowly and gradually, and a lot of suspense, and it's creepy, folks. It's scary. I mean, if you're a mother, if you're a woman, I understand it could probably be even more so creepy to you, because it might get to you in a primordial way. This scene, it's creepy on that level. The little baby is holding her, shocking spoilers, ovaries.
Is that what that was supposed to be?
Yeah.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like entrails. But
It
I
gets
was
under
like,
my skin, though. I'm a man. It gets under my skin, dude. And I'm a father too, so but I can only imagine being a woman watching this scene.
But it's shocking. I mean, like
It's
you
so
see
shocking.
blood on her nightgown. It's really a just disturbing
That's the
scene.
that's the ending of this. That's the whole kicker of the scene right there. Yeah, she looks down and sees the blood on her nightgown. Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Anyway,
Then Kevin comes home and she's saying, like, she's hysterical, and she's like, they took my ovaries, and basically she can't have a child. She knows something's up.
well, and he looks at her nightgown and there's no blood when he looks at it, so it makes her look even crazier.
That's the thing. It's like, is this in her mind? Is this real? What's going
Yeah.
on?
So clearly there's some evil influence going on over his wife, and Kevin needs to acknowledge this. Obviously, he needs to deal with his wife somehow, but Kevin is selfish. We find out he doesn't like to lose, and he's kind of selfish.
Yeah, he's not there with his wife. He's leaving her alone, and he's working, which is to be expected.
Am I
honestly.
skipping ahead too when we have that scene? I think it's an interesting scene where Pacino and Reeves are in the street. Pacino's Milton tells him, I want to put somebody else on this Alex Cullen case. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he says, your wife, you should take care of her. Everyone will understand. And that's a weird moment where you see this Milton character is kind of being oddly, he's offering him sympathy for a second here.
Or is he testing him, Jordan? What is he doing?
Or is he testing him? Yeah, because anyway. So, but he says take care of her. But then Kevin actually says something that really reveals that he's a little bit selfish. He says, yeah, but this is what's going to happen. I lose the case, and then Mare gets better, and then I blame myself. Something like that, I think it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And exactly. He's got a conflict of conscience, but not really.
Yeah. Once again, we're following the villain here, folks. It's kind of a reminder that we're actually following the villain in the movie.
He's kind of the anti-hero.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what makes this movie really fascinating.
There's no good people in this movie.
You can't. Yeah. The only one you really root for is Mare.
Except for Mare.
God, she's put to the test so badly.
And
they put her to the ringer.
She begins to spiral down further. And I will say that Charlize Theron, great actress, her performances in this film are usually pretty good. Her accent comes in and out.
I would be bold and say she should have got an Oscar that year for this, because look at what she went through. Good gosh, she put herself through an emotional ringer, clearly.
This was a tough year, Jordan. Batman and Robin, list goes on. There are a lot of movies coming out this year that were really powerhouses.
Titanic came out a month later.
Yeah, so it was a tough year, but she's really good in this. I just wish they didn't.
I agree.
Force accents on them, honestly.
Yeah.
I know it was a book, and I haven't read the book, but I mean, to me, it was distracting, and it's not always bad, but there are enough times where it just kind of takes you out of the thing, because then they try again. You forget that they're attempting an accent, and then they try again, and they'll say something extremely Southern.
Yeah.
Like at one point, Keanu's like, "Hey, baby," or something. It's really weird. It's just like, I don't know. But
I'm going to
anyway,
challenge you, Anthony. I'm going to find a YouTube dialect video And I'm going to challenge you on that. I'm just kidding.
And the dialect person would be like, well, actually, a great example of a Gainesville accent is Keanu Reeves in The Devil's Advocate. He
That's
nails
what I'm
it
doing.
perfectly.
That's what I mean. Yes.
People from Gainesville only sometimes have a Southern accent.
Yeah. They got a Gainesville in Texas too.
Yeah. And so anyway, we
Maybe he's from Gainesville, Texas, huh?
still failing at the accent. If that's the case.
Oh man, you are hard on Keanu.
I'm harsh on Keanu. I'm so bad.
You are hating on Keanu. Oh man. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he's a good actor, usually. I think this is Keanu coming into his own.
And Keanu could beat you up, Anthony, is all I'm gonna say.
Well, he knows Kung Fu, right? So
he does know Kung Fu. Yeah, he does.
But I think he's coming into his own as an actor. He's had some misses with like Walk in the Clouds and Dracula. I mean, he's coming into his own, and I think Hollywood is just trying to figure out what roles to put Keanu in. You can't blame the actor sometimes. I think he's a little miscast in this movie to kind of jump ahead, but I do think that generally,
you think it would have been better with the Tom Cruise or who else
maybe
around that time? I'm trying to
somebody,
think. George Clooney, even,
I'll get into that a little later, but I do think he struggles a little bit with the accent. I think Hollywood at this point is trying to figure out where Keanu needs to live as far as roles go. He's not bad in this, but he's not excellent. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna quote Keanu from this movie, Anthony. It's a little early for scripture, okay?
Okay. You did a better accent just then than Keanu. Anyway, I'm being mean. I'm being mean. I'm a terrible person. I know.
Oh wow! Thank you at the same time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So Kevin's theory of this case is that Cullen, Craig T. Nelson's character, is unlikable and couldn't have killed his wife because he was having an affair with his assistant. And then, like I said, Kevin's realizing all these people are lying, and then you know,
the big tip off too is the moment with the assistant we saw earlier, where he asked her, "Is Cullen circumcised or not?" And she's slow about answering, which is kind of odd because she's supposed to be the one who was with him that night and having an affair with him. And then, so yeah, this is led back to the courtroom where we are right now. There's all this evidence that points to he's guilty of sin, clearly, and he's got there's an odd thing going on with his stepdaughter, as we see as well. And you wonder if that was his motive, maybe, oddly, that he was. Was I wrong, or was it not?
No, I totally missed this in the movie. I think there's a subplot and subtext that you picked up on, having seen it more times.
He kept saying they won't let me spend time with my stepdaughter.
Yeah, she's important. I thought that was weird, but I didn't make.
And then later on, they're sitting at Barzoon's funeral. Yeah, I'm sorry, we cut ahead to Barzoon's funeral, but
let's first say how Barzoon died. Let me cut this and jump back. So
yes, Barzoon's.
So Eddie Barzoon is jogging. He has a little conflict.
He's killed in a montage.
Yeah, he has a little conflict with Keanu and basically resents him. Kevin. This is gonna be another one of those episodes. Right? Anyway, so
I would call Johnny Depp Keanu. I know you, Anthony.
Anyway, so he's running. He resents Kevin rising up still, and the fact that he's on this big case, and so he's jogging. And then what happens, Jordan? He's jogging in Central Park.
Homeless people, sort of almost they
joggers
predator-like. These joggers appear predator-like out of nowhere, jogging towards him, and they're kind of homeless looking, I guess, and they beat the shit out of him basically.
Yeah, and he dies.
They try to take his watch and he won't give it to them, and then they beat the shit out of him basically, and he dies right there in the Central Park. He's murdered by these homeless people.
Yeah, and it's unclear if Mary Ann sees this. This is what confused me. She's at the window, or Mare. She's at the window, and the apartment overlooks the park. I couldn't
once
tell.
Again during a montage.
Yeah. But I just thought that was weird. I just like, can she see this? Can she not? But she's already spiraling down into madness. So,
and this is at the same time going on with we see Pacino revealing more about Barzoon to Keanu, Milton to Lomax.
Yeah,
about how he nursed him through a drug habit. He nursed him through 2 bad divorces. Basically, Sonny Barzoon is nevertheless a wreck of a person. He's a mess. He's not a good guy at all. Like anybody else in this movie, he's not a good guy.
No.
And he's almost worse than Kevin and almost worse than Milton in a way.
Yeah. So anyway, they win the big case, and Craig T. Nelson's character Cullen gets off, and then Keanu goes home, and when he gets home, what does the doorman tell him, Jordan?
He tells him that his wife is run down to the nearest cathedral down the street. And anyway, and she's there covered up in a blanket, shivering. And she's telling Kevin about how Milton came into the apartment and forced himself on her. And she actually gave in to it. And Kevin's like, that's impossible. I was just with him at Barzoon's funeral earlier, and we saw that too.
Jordan, I want to pause you here. I thought we were done with sexual assault movies. After The Born Losers, I practically needed therapy after that movie.
True. That was a lot for us. That was a lot to go through.
Now we're back at it, but at least that's the only, we don't see this.
I blame myself. I picked this movie. I'm sorry. Yes, I was the one that picked this movie out of both of us. I forgot about all the...
It's okay, Jordan. We'll get through this together.
Yes, we'll get through this together.
So she's in a church just wrapped in a blanket, right?
Kevin doesn't know whether to believe. He doesn't really believe her, as we can tell, but then she pulls the blanket off and we see that she's got marks on her. Where did those marks come from? Hello. Am I skipping ahead here? Yeah.
No, you're right. She's covered in like scratches, naked in a church. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy.
And it's Charlize Theron boldly in the buff in this church, and it quickly covers her back up with the blanket. And he then decides to admit her into a hospital, sadly. And as she's being wheeled on the stretcher, this is the moment I felt like was really important in the movie. And it's Charlize Theron is so good in this moment. She's on the stretcher talking about how we knew all those people were guilty, but we kept winning all those cases, and the money was so good. You know, we just didn't care. We're getting, what's the word that they use in Catholicism? This is like a penance they're paying. She alludes to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I guess so.
She's the most human in this movie, though.
She sees things that other people don't see. Mm-hmm. The point is getting to her. All these strange things that Kevin doesn't see are becoming quite obvious to her and driving her crazy because he doesn't believe her. Mm-hmm. And she's lost it at this point. Understandably, she's just completely lost it. And she's been committed. And it's very sad.
It is. And then after being committed, well,
Weaver, the federal investigator that was looking into the firm that Barsoon mentioned earlier.
The Weaver Commission, yes.
Yeah. He catches up with Kevin on the street and says, hey, Milton's involved in a bunch of crimes internationally. And Barzoon was going to testify. Now he's somehow dead. Oh, and by the way, and Keanu's like, buzz off.
Big opener. Yeah, this is a really big plot opener and a really big reveal, too, that he's telling him. Because he's literally telling him how Milton is involved in so much scandalous shit. And it goes all over the damn place. It's like a big web, a big octopus he's got going on.
Yeah, and Keanu's not like, no way, I'll help testify. He's like, go away, dude, blow off and get out of here. And Weaver is like, oh, and by the way, that Getty's case, they found a 12-year-old girl in the trunk of his car.
Yeah, dead. And a big reveal about another big reminder. He's underestimated what he's dealing with.
And then we go to Barsoon's funeral in a church, right?
Well, that was already earlier, kind of weird. I think we're back at the hospital at this point.
Well,
with Mayor.
I just want to talk real quick about Barsoon's funeral in the church.
Oh, again, okay, go back over that, yeah.
And we have Milton in there, right? Can the devil be in church, Jordan? You know what I mean? Well, holy ground. I learned that from the Highlander. I don't know. It just seemed weird that he was just hanging out in a church.
Oh, and because he sticks his finger in the holy water and shit starts to happen.
Yeah. And when he does that,
he's not a vampire. He's the devil. He's a fallen angel. So
I'm just saying, I don't know.
At least this world, the way the rules operate in this world, that's the way you just have to look at it, I guess.
Yeah.
In the world of Devil's Advocate, that's the way the devil operates, I guess. Maybe he was allowed in church because he was allowed, just like Edward Herman in Lost Boys. Aren't you going to allow me in? You invite the devil in, so to speak.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But when he puts his finger in the holy water, what happens?
A lot of Alka-Seltzer.
A lot of Alka-Seltzer.
A lot of dry ice. No, I couldn't help it. I love this movie. I got to take a stab at it. I mean, it's a very great moment, man. You could do a lot with that scene. You could cut that scene into any movie, and it looked like Pacino was behind everything, because Pacino just looks at the camera as he sticks his finger in the holy water. And that's when you get the idea that something's going on even crazier with Mayor, but you don't see Pacino there still as the audience. And then that was when we went to the cathedral later on, basically.
Yeah, when he sticks his finger in the holy water is whenever Weaver gets hit by this car out of nowhere.
Oh, that's
and
right.
then
Yeah,
Weaver
okay.
dies. And
That's
Keanu
true.
is there. Kevin is there. Right.
Yeah.
And then like Kevin just has to be punched in the head here. Come on, man. All this is going on. It gets a little crazy. I mean, he
Go
sees
easy
all
on
this
Kevin,
going on.
Anthony. Come on.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Like Adele says, go easy on him. You know, come on.
So then he goes back to see Marianne at the hospital. And what happens there?
Oh, it gets so sad. She's gone over the edge and she kills herself in front of him in the room. She's trying to get out the glass, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, she.
Well, yeah, one of the partners is there and she smashes, I think, a mirror on her face and then slams the door, pushes her out, slams the door. And she's just in there with these shards of glass. And Kevin's trying to break in the door. And
Mare is just at the end of her rope at this point. Very, very much so. So yeah. And then Kevin has to watch her. And this is where we see Keanu in a beautiful performance, in my opinion, where it drives me to tears almost every time, the way he reacts. Honestly, it's almost genuine the way he reacts.
I will say,
accent or not.
I think, yeah, like his accent may flutter a little bit in this movie, but that particular scene, that was fantastic. The rest of the film he kind of walks through, I think, in a lot of ways. But I was stunned. I think that's one of his best performances, period.
And honestly, back when I first discovered this movie, that was the moment that shifted my thinking about Keanu. I didn't really think he was that one, and then The Matrix, really, honestly, was what I became a Keanu fan after Devil's Advocate. And that scene is what sold me on him right there as an actor. That made me stop and go, whoa, that's a lot of chops there.
I agree. After Devil's Advocate, I became a fan. No, I'm kidding. But
I mean, I only thought of him as Ted. I'm sorry. And yeah, I didn't like him in Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's not all his fault, though. You know, I mean, he was maybe miscast as Jonathan Harker.
Yeah. Okay. So a big reveal happens here, right? His mother's there. And what does she tell him, Jordan? She tells him, this is not my first time in New York.
Oh, yes. This is a big reveal here. This is search your feelings. You know it to be true. Kevin Lomax moment.
Yeah.
Keanu moment. Oh, I did it now. But she says this is not the first time. That was not the first time I met Milton in the elevator, something like that. She says that she met Milton years ago, right before Kevin was born, and that they met in New York, and that she never talked to anybody like that before. And it's weird too, because earlier Charlize Theron was saying that Milton came into her apartment. She said that they talked like she'd never talked to anybody before. So it's like an echo of that again in this scene.
Milton has a really seductive quality about him. You just see this time and time again.
It's a slithering snake-like seductive quality in a way. And it's Pacino's playing it very serpentine.
Yeah, Pacino's great.
Yeah. So she reveals that, and he realizes he's got to go talk to Milton. He's got to go get to the bottom
in that Baptist Youth Crusade back the year he was born, or a year before the year he was born. Whatever.
That's what. In New York, Baptist Crusade.
She met Milton.
Yeah.
And then they got it on, Jordan.
That's right. Yeah, I left out the whole big reveal still as I was describing that. So yeah. Milton is Kevin Lomax's daddy.
Dun, dun, dun. And then Keanu's like,
whoa,
no, it's impossible. And so then he leaves.
That's not what happens.
That was my Empire moment.
No, it's impossible.
And then so he leaves. And what happens?
No way.
That's totally bogus.
So it gets really interesting. He's walking out of the hospital. His secretary is there from the firm, and she says he's waiting for you. And she's the only one in all of New York. New York is now just desolate in a creepy way. Are we cutting ahead here? I guess. Yeah, he makes his way up to Milton's apartment. This is where the climax
amazing.
begins.
The streets. This really struck me as like a Mega Man or something. It was like the streets were vacant. They closed down the street in New York, and it's wonderful.
They did. This was not CGI, folks. I remember on the commentary, Taylor Hackford says they did. They closed off that whole area of New York just to get that shot. And it has a beautiful score by James Newton Howard over it as he's walking down this desolate I Am Legend looking street in New York. Yes. And he goes up to Milton's tower where his office
Well,
is.
I just want to say that scene is very post-apocalyptic, and I think intentionally so.
Oh,
There's
it's
a lot
very
of
much,
metaphor.
yeah, it's very much like a revelation going on here. So yeah, it's got to be end of the world revelation as well, looking.
Yeah. Then we get to the epic final act of this film. This is what the movie's known for, I think.
Yeah. Kevin enters this penthouse where Milton's office is, and it's got this wreath hanging in the center that morphs into angels. And can I bring up the interesting trivia I learned about this wreath in Milton's office?
Yeah, no one's stopping you. Go ahead.
This, folks, got CG'd out later on after the theatrical release, when it was released on home video, because originally it was angels in this wreath, and it looked like they were heavenly bodies, but it ends up them morphing into, in the movie, you see them fornicating with each other. And the sculpture was based on something by a real artist in reality. And he saw this movie in the theater, and apparently the movie people didn't approve it with him. And he was shocked at what he saw. So he sued Warner Brothers. And so they went back and CG'd it out as best they could later on with what they had at the time. This is 1998 technology, 1997 technology. So, but yeah, you see this reef in the background where these angels are fornicating in this scene. Well, you get to see it nevertheless in this scene. Still, it's still pretty interesting and shocking.
It's interesting. It suffers from the technology. Time has not been forgiving to some of the effects in this film, especially in this last act.
I guess it's a little too CG-ish in that part. Yeah, maybe.
It's creepy. It's really effective. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very visual. And we hear Milton's voice as Kevin enters just off in the background. How'd you think that happened, Kevin? Blah, 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 Kevin. Something like that. And then Milton appears out of nowhere and talks to Kevin. And Kevin is just laying it on the table with Milton. And he's telling him, you did that to Mare. You drove her crazy. And Milton describes it as like, I touched a butterfly's wings. That's all I did after that. You know, what did I do? Same with you.
He pulls the gun, the Walther PPK that Cullen had. I guess he kept it.
That's right. Yeah. He kept it because we introduced that gun early on. That's right. It's the same gun that Cullen had. So yeah. And he tries to shoot Milton. Of course, we realize that's pointless. And he does
shoot him. Squibb Central. He's shooting him.
But he doesn't kill him. It doesn't.
Well, hold on. Let's back up. We skipped over something critical. Milton admits to sleeping with Mare.
That's right.
And then Kevin takes the gun and just starts plugging away at him. Bam, 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 bam. Squibb's blowing up everywhere. And the bullets.
Milton just laughs at him standing there.
Yeah, have no effect.
And we're finding the big reveal here is that Milton there are so many names I go by. Oh, right. He is Satan himself. He is the devil. He is Diablo.
And I will say that maybe Pacino was just born to play the devil. If anybody can play the devil convincingly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it seems like an interesting acting choice. He's always got a cigarette and he's always blowing smoke in every scene. And I think it's just to look like he's always smoking. Because he's Satan, he's from hell.
All the bad people smoke in this movie. All the
right.
The demons and devil people, they all smoke a cigarette. And that's how you know.
Yeah.
Seeing how this movie ends and the big reveal, when you go back, they actually did a pretty good job of weaving in hints throughout the whole thing. The first time I saw this, I had no idea. Even now, like going back and seeing this, I was like, oh, wow, there's hints, there's clues, there's certain things that are consistent and very good in that fact, when you go back and watch it. This is a movie you can watch twice for sure.
Oh, but it's entertaining. It
is 2.5 hours long.
I think Devil's Advocate is a really good horror suspense film. That's what I would label it as.
A courtroom horror film.
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of courtroom dramas. They never feel real. So I like that there's a courtroom drama with supernatural elements to it.
Yeah. And then Kevin asks Milton, like, who are you? And then Milton is like, well, you've never lost a case, have you?
Yeah. You think it's because you're so fucking good?
Exactly. And he's like, hey, no, I am your father.
And Kevin says, I'm a lawyer. That's my job. That's what I do.
And then that's when he's just like, oh, well, Pacino, this whole scene, an act of kind of goes on a little long.
Pacino owns it, though.
He's chewing the scenery and just owning it. Yeah,
I love it.
absolutely. He's like the whole scene in a movie where the villain explains his whole plan.
I would say he's bathing in the scenery, literally
Oh.
taking a bath in the scenery.
He's just, oh man. When you let Al Pacino run, he runs and he
Oh,
does it.
Does he? Oh.
And then even there's a cheesy scene where they dub Keanu's voice, which I think
Oh, I
is
love that.
hilarious.
Yeah. Why? Because if I lose this case, I'll end up blaming myself. Yeah, he repeats that. And he's lip syncing. Obviously it's a Keanu overdub.
And I will say Keanu Reeves, especially at this point in his career, Keanu is from the confused school of acting. He's like standing in the shoes of the slowest audience member. He's like, I totally don't understand what's going on here.
Oh, come on, though. He's
Explain it
great.
to me.
But he's really, I mean, come on, he's really, you're not giving him a credit.
What does that mean? Let me tell you even further. Okay, God, this guy, God, he's an absentee landlord. You know, what I mean,
I love all those.
It's just an excuse for one luxurious chunk of monologue after another. And
I love
it's
Pacino's
awesome. And Pacino
zingers.
is owning it. It's like this scene goes on too long, but it just gives him like.
Let me
more
give you a
of
little
an
insight
opportunity.
about God. He's an absentee landlord. He's a sadist. Worship that not.
And then
Never.
the most famous line from this movie, Jordan, I'll let you do.
Oh, by Pacino or
Yeah.
Reeves?
No, by Pacino.
What is it? Vanity. Vanity is definitely my favorite sin, Kevin. Oh, so basic. That line?
No, I'm talking about look, but don't touch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Look, God, he sets you up with all these obstacles. Look, but don't touch. Taste, but don't swallow. Something like that. Yeah. I missed the third one. Sorry. Man, I thought I was a fan of this movie.
Yeah. Taste, but don't touch. Touch, but don't taste. Taste, but don't swallow.
Yeah, exactly.
And so basically that's what he's
And
like.
while
God,
you're moving from here to there, backward and forward, he's laughing his sick fucking ass off.
we should have warned everybody there'd be bad Pacino accents just throughout this whole thing. I think I'll put that in the tagline.
Warning disclaimer.
How you
ahead of
can't
time.
help yourself. It's genius. He's a master at overacting. Nobody overacts the way Pacino does.
I love it.
It's infectious.
Just give me Pacino maple syrup.
And so we get this whole sympathy for the devil thing where he's on man's side and then he wants Kevin to take over the firm, right?
Right.
And then what do we find out? Christabel answers, and what do we find out about her?
OMG, they are brother and sister. And I guess they're fraternal twins, technically, maybe.
I mean, this
possibly.
movie goes full Star Wars.
Or maybe she's older.
Christabel-
Actually, no, she's older than him. I guess they had that. She's way older than him, like ancient, apparently.
Yeah.
And then Milton wants Christabella and Kevin to mate so that they can create the Antichrist together.
And then an out of place Sinatra song plays.
The only thing missing from this movie, in my opinion, is heavy metal music at this point.
I know that Sinatra song threw me out of it. I think that there's some choices that they could have reeled back on this whole third act a little bit more and tightened it up. But why the law? It's like,
From what I know, that's more tightened up. The movie, from what I understand, could have run 3 hours, judging by deleted scenes I've watched.
I mean, it's awesome. It's the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
But we've already been through 2 hours of this film already. You expect this to be a 10-minute scene, and it's more like a 25-minute scene.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
more-
awesome. It's
25,
amazing.
30 minutes. Yeah.
At least just in the same, it's its own play. Really, this whole act of the film could have been its own film. So then we find out why the law. The law is the new priesthood, basically, and the devil's going to use lawyers and acquitting people to take over creation. I mean, that's what I was talking about. This movie is all about how lawyers bad, and a lawyer who takes a client that they know is guilty is a bad person. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Is like, Jordan, in my opinion, I think that's the heavy-handed morality in this movie. Very one-dimensional or very black and white. You know?
Oh, I guess I didn't think about that. Yeah, that.
I mean, no big deal, but using lawyers to take over the world.
So we're in. So we're in Milton's Law.
Yeah. So anyway, Milton gives him the ultimatum. Hey, join me.
Yeah.
We see Christabel. She takes her clothes off, like we said. Going to give birth to the
Millennium's
Antichrist.
coming.
And I got to give some credit to Charlize Theron.
You mean
and-
Connie Nielsen?
Yeah, both of them went full frontal in this movie. A
Yeah,
lot.
they did. Yeah.
And so we see lots of boobs. This is like a 70s French film with all the
It is.
with all
It's
the
almost.
boobs.
Yeah, I didn't think it's almost like European. You're right. Seeing the full frontal nudity. I'm trying to say it as properly as I can here without
Yeah,
sounding
we even see
disgusting.
Keanu's hairy ass. I mean, yeah.
We do. I mean, it's almost, you're right, man. And maybe it's just Taylor Hackford's sensibility. Maybe he's got some of that European influence, a new wave influence. He started in documentaries, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
And so Kevin, what does he do? He's got this ultimatum and everyone's waiting him to, he's like,
what is he going to do?
In the pose to get Christabel pregnant. And then he notices that she doesn't love him. He's like, what's love?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
The equivalent to chocolate. He pulls that Walter Piquet or Beretta out of his pocket that he got from Colin, and he shoots himself in the head, because what else can he do other than sacrifice himself and just give it all up?
And that's one might call that almost a Christ-like sacrifice, Jordan.
Self-sacrifice. It's not, totally being a martyr, but that's what he needs to do morally. That's the morally responsible thing for him to do as well, sadly.
Yeah.
But what happens then?
Some really bad 90s CGI is what happens next, Jordan.
So he wakes. This is where it gets
Lucifer's
weird, folks.
like Pacino's like, oh, and then all these flames, and then we see the portal to hell, and he transforms into a young Keanu, and then we see some really bad CGI wings. None of this is aged well.
Yeah, and he's in hell. You're right. It's an interesting, nice special effect with fire and flames and wings on Keanu. And then this is where you realize the movie's like the Twilight Zone. We cut back into the courtroom on the Getty's case all over again. He's back in the restroom looking at himself in the mirror and deciding whether he wants to win or lose this case. And we see the same reporter there. Can't win them all, Kevin. Need a 4:30 deadline. And then he goes back in and he does the right thing this time. He does not defend this guy at all.
My client is like totally guilty.
And
he has a crisis of conscience.
And then as Kevin Lomax is leaving with Charlize Theron, the case is done and all that, he's happy. It's like a Frank Capra moment. And then the reporter looks at him and says something about how he wants to do a story on him. He smiles, leers, smiles, and he morphs. Well, yeah, it's a 90s morph effect into Pacino. And we realize that the devil's there again. He's there in the media this time. And oh my God, what if we had gotten a sequel?
I know. He's like a lawyer with a crisis of conscience, as if that would never happen. And then he's just like, you're going to be a big star, because earlier, I don't know if we mentioned this, but calling back to his sin or his weakness was vanity. I really didn't see that earlier in the movie, but here it is into play again. It's a little bit in there. He's like, well, I could be a star. Yeah, I'll give you a call. And so that's when, like you said, the devil is back.
Yeah.
And this is going to play over again, like Groundhog Day.
And the neat thing is we roll credits. We're at the end of the movie, and the song Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones comes on very loud and nice. And we see all these flames. And fun fact, Anthony, all these flames that you see in the shot against black are from a flamethrower that they actually shot against the black sky. Cool. For that. So it's a real practical effect. Huh. And what a movie. I mean, I don't know. What a movie to me, at least, I guess.
Movie, and I don't mean to be too hard on it, Jordan. It's just, look, I'll tell you what it is. It's the best weird legal drama, supernatural thriller that I've seen in a long time. And it is over the top for some of the movie. And it is pure 90s cheese. And it's got an all-star cast. But I don't know whether this movie wants me to take it seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, well, I think that's the movie's power, honestly. I think the movie wants you to take it seriously. It's got a sense of humor at the same time, I feel like. That's what keeps you interested. And it's weird. I think it's interesting how you still want to see what happens to Kevin, even though he's kind of established as the villain early on. It's a weird dichotomy of I don't know. Maybe I'm more about this you are, or
like I said, I'm not trying to hate on it. I didn't realize this was one of your favorite movies. But again, it's so weird. It's a 90s movie. It's campy, it's excessive, it's ridiculous, but it's fun. And it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours. And it kind of jumps the shark. at certain points, and then jumps the shark that ate that shark at certain points. But you're along for the ride this whole time.
Yeah.
And just the power of Pacino, like he is carrying this movie on his shoulders.
Vanity. That's definitely my favorite scene, Kevin.
And it's just an excuse for that last 25, 30 minutes of just Pacino being the devil, and you just love it. He's just wallowing in the role and you love him for it. And it was worth all of that to get to that point.
Pacino is the special effect at the end of this movie as well, the other special effects. He's larger than life, but he's also a spectacle in this at the end of this movie. I think he's another spectacle.
It's a fun movie. And would I recommend it? Yes, 100%. It is not a perfect movie. I think Keanu's a little miscast. I think some of the dialogue is cheesy. And I don't know if it's Keanu's acting or if his character's underwritten. Something's wrong there. The pieces are there and it comes together enough, but this movie could have been a great movie. Instead, it's just a good movie. But
oh man, I think it is
a fun movie. It is a fun movie.
I think it's a great movie. I mean, it goes right back to, maybe it's because my childhood, I come from a religious background from my parents being sort of Christian, so I understood this movie's center, I felt like, because of that, because I understand growing up with religion, what it's like. Although it's not completely about that anyway.
No, and I mean, it's very much a movie in its time. And Jordan, I can understand, you have an emotional connection to the movie. I'm not going to argue with that. I see that. I'm just being a little critical. It
has more disturbing elements. I forgot. But no, I first discovered this movie when I was younger. And maybe I just kind of didn't think about some of the more disturbing elements of the movie, even though I love it as much as I do.
Okay. Well, let me say this, Jordan. Audiences agreed with you because it cost $57 million. So not a cheap movie, especially they spent a ton of money on those effects, that statue.
Oh, those were not cheap. And then,
moving and the thing they got sued over. But total gross, according to Wikipedia, $153 million. So this movie made some money. And in no small part because of Al Pacino, deservedly so. And it really further bolstered Keanu's career into being like an A-list Hollywood actor, and Charlize Theron and others. It was like a big boost to everybody.
This would be one of two movies him and Charlize Theron would do together. I think they did one more because they got along so well on this movie. But yeah, I would give this movie rating wise, I guess, how am I going to rate this one? 8 out of 10 horny devils, horny devil emojis.
Yeah, I give it because it is campy and fun on that level. I will give it, not as a serious movie because it does have its flaws, but I'll give it a 7 out of 10 utility knives that make switchblade noises.
Oh, well, anyway, man.
Well, Jordan, I'm so sorry I jumped all over this movie. It was an interesting and fun film to review and watch, and I suggest everyone else go check it out. It is not a boring film. I'm just nitpicking.
It's okay. I'm not mad. We're going to get a different podcast partner next week. So
yeah,
I'm not angry at all.
Okay. So next week there'll be someone else talking to Jordan about movies. But for this week,
I'm kidding, folks. We established this whole thing together. Anyway.
Well, Jordan, it's been great, at least for this week, talking to you about movies.
Great talking to you, Anthony. I apologize for all the distractions in the background here.
Oh, no problem. And next time, we'll be talking about some other movie, maybe without less full frontal gratuitous nudity.
Yeah.
I hope not.
And we will also introduce our threequel series where we talk about the oddest third movie in a series of movies, franchise, be it Batman Forever, a Superman 3, a Karate Kid Part 3, something like that, basically.
All right, Jordan. Well, I'll talk to you later. Look, but don't touch, Jordan.
Taste, but don't swallow.
What's the last one? Swallow, but don't throw it up.
Yeah. There's so many zingers, and of course my favorite is Vanity. Vanity, Kevin. It's definitely one of my favorites. So basic. Oh, anyway.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for listening to our podcast. This has been The Robots Took My Podcast.
The Robots Took My Podcast. Oh.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Did you not kill your wife accidentally, or your family, or both? Did you not touch your student inappropriately, but someone is saying you did? Call us, Milton Chadwick Waters. Did you accidentally fold a real estate deal, and the IRS is giving you a hell of a time? Do you have an absentee landlord? Is he a sadist? Is he laughing at you? Is it God? Call us, Milton Chadwick Waters. Do you practice voodoo, witchcraft, Satanism, Santeria, and the landlords or IRS won't leave you alone? Then call Milton Chadwick Waters. Do you not know who your father is, but your mother visited New York in 1968? Call us, Milton Chadwick Waters. Milton Chadwick Waters. We'll make you a deal like no one else can.
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.